Please welcome back to the stage Dave Grohl and Gabe Myers.
Wow, you stayed. Holy moly. Thank you. Thank you very much. Thank you. There's almost as many people as were in here earlier. It's flattering.
Just another Monday night in Napa, right?
I guess so. Wow. Yay.
So, Dave, congratulations on the film.
Thank you. Thank you.
So, did you ever, I'll jump right to all the hard questions, okay? I told my staff that I would do this. Do you remember when you were in Nirvana?
I do.
That was awesome.
Thank you.
I was going to do my Chris Farley. I'm not sweating enough, but whatever. We're in
I
Napa.
get the same way with Paul. Whenever I'm around Paul, it's like, just be cool. Don't say anything stupid. Be cool. Don't say anything stupid. And then I always say something fucking stupid.
Well, we'll get to that moment with Paul, because I got lots of questions about that. But we're in Napa, so it's required, federally, required in the county of Napa that you have a little bit of wine. So,
Absolutely.
Kimmy Bracco.
What do we got? Oh, no, not again.
Dave's been hanging out in the valley for a couple days, and he's going to post all his favorites.
Thank you so much. Thank you.
Cheers to you.
Cheers. Cheers. And thank you, everybody, for coming out. That's awesome. Thank you very much. It's very cool. Thank you. Thank you.
So,
Ugh. Kidding. It's a joke.
So when you were a young man and you wanted to be a musician, did you ever make music videos? Did you ever think about being a filmmaker? When did you decide to do this? I know we talked a little bit backstage, but tell us about the journey for this film. Recap that one more time and talk about the process.
It started about 2 years ago, and I directed like music videos before for the Foo Fighters, and it's easy. I honestly believe that if you're focused and passionate and driven, you can achieve anything you want to achieve in life. Because I honestly believe that. Because you'll fucking figure it out. You know what I mean? So I never took lessons to play the drums. I just figured it out. And I never took lessons to play guitar. I took maybe a few. But I just listened to Beatles records, And so, but I would listen to it. I would listen and practice by myself in my bedroom obsessively. And so throughout life, I've always kind of figured that that's just how you do stuff. Like if you have a natural inclination and a real drive to do something, that you can figure it out. And so with the movie, being the director of a movie, I don't know what directors do, but I had this team of people that were good friends and like-minded musicians and people that were just as passionate about it as I am. And I would say, oh shit, okay, here's what we should do. We should, let's try to do this. We need to get Stevie to read that letter. And then when we get the Rupert Neve thing, we gotta subtitle it because nobody understands what the fuck he's talking about anyway. And so, but just, it's, all you need is an imagination and the resource to do it. And that comes with everything. And it's funny because in that, the part of this, a lot of this movie has to do with technology and how it's affected music and how it's affected our lives. And if you think about it, if it weren't for this technology, I don't know if I would have been able to pull this off, I mean, one of the first questions, like when we did film festivals and stuff like that, or a lot of film journalists would ask me, so, did you use film? I was like, fuck no, we use computers, man. But it's funny because, I mean, honestly, I honestly believe now that one of the great advantages of the advance of technology with music is that this is available to anybody. When I was a kid in the 80s in punk rock bands, in order for us to get our music to anyone, we would rehearse and then record at a shitty studio down the street, and then we'd send that to a pressing plant, and then we would press 7-inch singles, and then we'd get those singles, and then we'd Xerox a bunch of covers and stuff those in sleeves and then go to the record store and sell them on consignment or whatever. And the reward of doing that yourself was fucking awesome. You were so proud.
The best part of that was at Kinko's in Bellingham, you could rejigger the counter, right? And then you get all the
get free copies
for free.
Yeah.
Yes, if you just put it just right. Yeah.
But so now, you say you're a kid and you want to record and release music, you just fucking open up your laptop and you can record your
iPhone.
band. It's amazing. And then the distribution, which is a click of a button, you can send it out to the world. So it's really inspiring what you can do. And I honestly think that any of you could be a filmmaker. Any of you could make a movie as long as you have the passion and the idea and the determination to really do it. Because the resources to do it, I mean, it's available to, and you can do it on your fucking phone. Like you could make a movie with your iPhone.
They're all making movies tonight, by the way.
That's great.
Look at them all.
So,
you hear that, Brian? Yeah.
But I never imagined really that I would wind up doing something like this. So it was nice.
So I noticed that, I love you were telling me about the little thought bubbles. You didn't do that with Sir Paul.
Well, he's kind of easy to understand.
We could just read your eyes. Tell us about that.
Paul McCartney is awesome. The end. He, I don't know what else to say. He's the fucking Beatles, man. We met years ago, and I was terrified. And he was, he's without a doubt the nicest, sweetest, most down-to-earth person. It's hard to imagine, but it's absolutely true that it's true. He knows he's Paul McCartney. He knows what he represents to the world, but he's a really good dude, And so if you call him up and say, hey, do you want to jam? I swear to God, he wants to jam more than pretty much anybody I know. When he rehearses, like with his band, we've sat there and watched his band rehearse before, and it's fucking crazy because they'll rehearse something and he'll say, okay, let's do Magical Mystery Tour. And then they'll do it, and you're just like, oh my God. And then he'll play Blackbird, and like, okay, let's do Twist and Shout. It's just shit like that. But his shows are legendary. He plays for 3 hours, and but so when I called him up and asked if he wanted to come over and jam, it was sort of early-ish on in the process. And when he came over to play with me and Chris and Pat, I realized, oh my God, now I have the beginning of the movie, and now I have the end of the movie. Like, what a wonderful finale to, and what I said about that full circle moment, I mean, even if there weren't fucking cameras there, that would have been one of the most incredible days of my life because, I mean, you can imagine. If it weren't for Paul McCartney, I wouldn't fucking be here right now. I just wouldn't be. So for me to be able to play with him and Chris and Pat, and we hadn't jammed like that since we were at Nirvana. And for real, it was 3 hours into the day before I just kind of went, oh my God, we were Nirvana. Like, how weird. So it was pretty magical. And the fact that he brought the bass, his Hofner bass, like it was right there. And then his 59 Les Paul was right there. And he walks in and decides to play the fucking cigar box guitar.
Yeah. Tell us about that.
Well,
that instrument.
Okay. There's a guy in the San Fernando Valley. This guy Matty Barato, and he's a luthier, guitar tech guy, and he makes these guitars. They're called sig fiddles. He makes them out of old cigar boxes. So you could bring an old cigar box to him, and he'll put a bridge on it and an old mandolin neck, and they're cool. They sound really good. So. So Paul was given that as a present, I think, the night before. And he just thought it was so cool. The amp, it was great, too. The amp was this little speaker built into an old wooden case of wine, like a wine case. So you've got a cigar box guitar and this wine case amplifier, and it fucking rips, man. Like, it sounded so good. But the fact that he decided that he wanted to play that says a lot about him as a musician, but also about his generation of musicians. Like, one of the reasons why the Beatles and the Stones and Cream and all those people, Hendrix and the Who, they were daring musicians. You know, they were willing to do something that they had never done before, no one had done before. They were willing to like take risks and stuff, which is really inspiring. You know, he didn't just pick up the bass and say, "Okay, let's play," come together. He wanted to do something that had never been done before, and and you would imagine that like, oh, those older guys would never do something crazy and rad, but in all honesty, the older guys, they're fucking crazier and more rad than the younger guys.
So
I hate to say it, like, I'm proud that the Butthole Surfers are my generation's, Pink Floyd, but no one can out-weird the original dudes. There's no way.
So some of us bottle rockers went to see the Stones last night with a mission of trying to talk them into coming back to Napa with us. They got a couple off nights. And I got to say, they're really fucking old and so fucking awesome. It was great.
Totally.
And 2.5 hours, no opener, just ripped it up. But I wanted to, I don't need to steal your thunder. These people want to ask you real questions. I wanted to tell you about that thing. Have you heard of BottleRock? You've heard of BottleRock, right? So there's this, speaking of weird old dudes.
That is a weird guitar.
Yeah. There's a guitar and that amp. My father and his hippie friend built this barrel amp. Can we turn it on?
It's so cool.
So it's turn it on. Will you strike a chord in anger?
Oh yeah, of course.
Where are you, Dad? And Dwight. So we may or may not have a successful festival in year one, but we're all doing it together. All these people in Napa are doing it. But
I have to say that when I saw online that there was going to be a festival here, a rock festival, and when I first saw, like, really, a rock festival in Napa? How's that going to work? It's so nice and pretty, and the people are cool. Like, yeah. And then I saw the lineup, and I was just like, Jesus Christ. It's crazy. So if the Foos weren't on hiatus right now, which, by the way, Pat Smear calls it "I hate us." That's what he calls it. But if you guys can make it through your first year, then I promise you that the Foo Fighters will come back to play this festival. I promise.
he promised.
Yeah, you have my word. You have my word.
All right, so Dave, I think I told you, and I've mentioned it to a lot of these people. We've got 26 different nonprofits involved in this, and
Yes.
one of the most important ones is Autism Chords. So if you would put your name on this 1974 Gibson, we're going to put it in the auction for Autism Chords.
All right, so we're gonna take some questions now. There's some mics out here. Let's see if we can get some mics. I got a guy right down here in front.
Well, now I can see people. Okay, here, you want me just to go for it? Okay. Standing up man.
Yell.
Hey, Dave. I assume you did a lot of jams on Nirvana tracks on the Sound City board while you were there. Is there any chance of that seeing the light of day in the not-so-distant future?
Of which stuff?
Nirvana tracks from Nevermind.
Oh, it's funny. When we went to go make Nevermind, we didn't have extra songs. We had Nevermind. So you know, we're coming up on anniversary. There's like the 20th anniversary of Nevermind, and everyone's looking for like additional content. And there's just not a lot of stuff because those were about the only songs that we could really write, you know. But yeah, I mean, sure, yeah.
Yeah, I'm good with this one.
This was like an hour and a half ago, wasn't it? How the fuck did you pull that off? I guess not. Oh, yeah. Big guy in the back, you.
Am I the big guy?
You're a pretty big guy.
So 22 years ago.
Okay, hold on 1 second. You know, if you let me pick the guys, I'll go for it. It'll go quick, I promise.
22 years ago, you guys were on SNL
Yeah.
in dresses.
Yes.
And there was a man-on-man kiss.
Yeah.
That was revolutionary.
You know, I'm glad that some people think that. Like, I'm not kidding. Like, you know, one of the things that we wanted to represent, we were the antithesis of a lot of that, like, bullshit heavy metal.
Jock rock.
And the homophobic jock rock.
Yeah.
Because we truly grew up in a community, in the underground community, where everybody was different and everybody was cool, and that's what was so great about it. So when Nirvana first became I mean, you know, I used to get fucking chased around my neighborhood in Virginia with people calling me a fag, or people, because I listened to punk rock.
Right.
So then all of a sudden I'm in the biggest fucking band in the world, like, oh, look at me now, motherfucker. You know, so, right.
Everyone is gay.
Yeah.
And so, thank you. And how do you think things have changed in the 22 years since then? I mean, it's big time changes.
Like musically, or
Musically,
well,
everything.
I mean, you know, that was such a great time in the 90s, in the early 90s, because there seemed to be like this rebirth of idealism, like, or something, like they didn't feel so restricted anymore. They didn't feel so compartmentalized. It was more cool. It was okay to be weird, you know. It was okay to sound like a band in the garage or whatever, and it still is. I mean, that was a really exciting time. I have kids. I have 2 daughters, and they're great. They're super fun, and I look at them, and I can't wait till they fucking dye their hair blue. You know, I can't wait till they start doing all the stupid shit that I did when I was young, because I feel like you have to really try to experience everything before you really become, you know, the person that you are or whatever. So I don't know. I don't want to talk about kids too much.
Thank
You
you.
right there. Get a record player. It's that easy. I'll tell you a funny, quick story. My kids, someone gave me the Beatles box set. The vinyl box set came out. It's awesome. It's fucking huge. It's great. So I bring it home, and I've already brainwashed my kids. They love the Beatles, and they know I got them Yellow Submarine because I thought, oh, it's a cartoon. And then they got so into it, and they just started singing all the songs, and then I had to explain to them that, you know, there's more than one Beatles record. You know that, right? Like, there's more. So I got them the White Album, and I got Abbey Road. So I come home with this box set. They're like, wow, what is that? And I said, they're the records. They're like, cool. So I got the turntable, and I put it in Violet's room. And I said, okay, here's how you do it. You take it out of the sleeve. Don't scratch it. Put it on. And because it was this new experience where she was watching it turn, and she was holding the album in her hands, and she was reading lyrics, and there were posters and shit. And I left the room, and I came back half an hour later, and she's like dancing to get back, and all the records are all over the floor. So it's the exact same experience that we all had when we were kids, but today. And so, you know, the world changes and technology changes, but honestly, like, kids are fucking kids, man. So she was experiencing this just as I did 40 years ago or whatever, and So the other day, her friends came over, and she couldn't wait to show them the record player. So her friends come over, and she's playing the beat, and I go in the beat. They're all over the fucking floor again. And her friend Michael, his dad, comes over to pick him up, and he says, "Hey, Dad, can we get a record player?" And I was just like, "Yeah, fucking got one, man." So, I mean, I swear to God. And this year vinyl sales were up the highest since like 1997. So there you go. So I mean, it's pretty awesome that I think the experience is something special. I'm deaf as a post, so don't ask me any questions about audiophile bullshit because I can't hear anything for real. But I mean, the actual experience of having music in a way that's tactile or tangible, like it goes a long way with kids. It's really cool. Yes, you.
First of all, I want to say thank you, Dave. I appreciate everything that you've done
You're
for
welcome.
the whole music industry. I'm a huge Foo Fighters fan.
Thank you.
My daughter and my nephew are now a huge Foo Fighters fan because of me, because I've made them listen to everything that you've done.
Brainwashing, it works.
Yeah, brainwashing works.
It does.
But I want to thank you for everything that you've done for that. But I think the main thing is they have really just bringing the albums home and playing it for them, and for them getting so into it and taking it home and like sharing it with all of their friends and stuff. It's fun to watch, I guess. And I know that I'm sounding completely crazy.
Well, you're
right now.
welcome.
Thank you, Dave. I appreciate it. But thank you for everything. And I want to know what this experience has taught you, and like moving forward with your different projects and stuff. What kind of impact has that made for you?
Well, jamming, one of the...
like moving forward, like with the Foo Fighters album. Sorry.
You're welcome.
I'm done now. I love you.
Yeah, I love you, man. No, I mean, one of the great things about playing with other people is playing with lots of other people, is that you learn from each person that you play with. And no two musicians play the same. So if you're jamming with Paul, that's different than jamming with Lee Ving, which is different than jamming with Josh or Trent, whatever. So it's a shame that a lot of people look at musicians like they're characters in a fucking sitcom or something. Like how could someone from Happy Days hang out with someone from, Starsky and Hutch? Like that doesn't work. So as a musician, like I look at, why doesn't the drummer of U2 start a side project with the fucking bass player of Led Zeppelin? Like it would be great. But a lot of people don't really do that. And I think that it's important for musicians. I think it's important for everybody to get together with everybody and just go for it and jam. So after doing something like this, I mean, you're totally inspired because you just got to jam with your heroes. But more than that, you've kind of grown a little bit as a musician because you've experienced all these different ways of playing with other people. So, plus I have the board now, which sounds pretty goddamn good. Yes, in the front row. Yes. Hold on one second, man.
So, I just wanted to know, you're like honestly one of my role models, like what your advice would be for an aspiring artist to get in touch with more of that like human primal sound rather than the kind of new age auto-tuned music.
I think like honestly, that's weird. As a musician, you want to be great. Like you want to be good. And you sort of set these funny expectations for yourself, One of the funniest things that Fogerty ever said to me, he was like, yeah, I was learning to play the drums, but I realized that I would never be as good as John Bonham from Led Zeppelin, so I stopped. And I'm like, who is as good as John? But nobody. Like, what the fuck? How could you do that? So, like, there should be no right or wrong, You should just be cool with what you do and how you sound. Like, it's one of the things that I have a problem with, like a lot of those song contest shows on TV. Not only because, whatever, it's corporate cheese or whatever the fuck, but I have a problem with, like, if my kid walked up on stage and sang her heart out as best as she could, and fucking Jennifer Lopez said like, no, sorry, that's not good enough. I'd be like, I would be so fucking pissed, you know? Because that's not how it works. You know, you should go to a yard sale and buy a shitty old guitar and then go find a friend and get into your garage and just suck. That'd be awful. And then write some songs and become the biggest band in the world, you know? Because that's how it works. I mean, it works other ways too, I'm sure. But I mean, as a young musician, you know, first of all, you're not going to make a living doing it. Like, accept that. Realize that. Because then if you do, you're fucking stoked. The reward of playing music should be the reward of playing music. Like, that's what you kind of get. Like, when I was a little kid, or when I was playing punk rock music as a teenager, like, there was never any career opportunity because we fucking played punk rock music. Nobody wanted to buy that, but we loved to do it. It was so much fun. And like, if you start from a place like that you just love to create and you just love to play music and you can't stop thinking about it and you do it every fucking day and you do it by yourself or you do it with your friends and that's enough for you to survive the rest of your life, that's great. And then once you start getting good, you start playing for people. And once you start playing for people, if you're good, then those people will tell other people, that girl's really fucking good. So then all of a sudden you're playing to all these different people, and that to me is the most important thing. When it's you on stage and people are seeing, when people see another person doing that, it's really inspiring. Like, it's cool to see a human being fucking jamming. That's great. Guy, you, man. Dude.
Hi, David. I just wanted to know, as a huge Prince fan, first and foremost,
who isn't?
And then a Nirvana fan, and then a Foo Fighter fan, how and why did you do Darling Nikki?
So
and
that song's so good.
Follow up, will you do a Jungle Love by Morris Day in a Time? And by the way, you made it really fucking hard as a young man to choose between Pearl Jam and Nirvana. I'll just say that right now.
Well, first of all, Prince he's so badass. I'll tell you a really funny quick story about Prince. He did like 21 nights at the Forum in Los Angeles a couple years ago. Just like fucking sold it out every night. And he would play these epic long shows. So a bunch of us went down there to go see the show, and we went to the little VIP backstage thing. And I knew all these people that worked on his crew. I'd met them over the years, and then I saw him in the hallway. Hi, how are you? What are you doing here? Work for Prince? What are you doing? Nothing. And I was like drinking and having fun. And so one of the people was like, you know, he wants to jam with you. And I'm just like, oh my God. I was terrified because I was wasted, but I was also just like, I can't do this tonight. Like, I just want to have fun. This is going to be great. And thank you. And so at the end of the night, someone is like, he wants to meet you. And I'm like, so they're like, stand right here. And I'm standing right there. And this curtain opens up, and he's fucking like right there. And I'm like, oh my God. And it was so awesome because it was Prince and Sheila E. hanging out together. It's like, oh, hi, which is amazing. So I say, and I'm trashed, and I say, hey, so when are we going to jam? He's like, I don't know. What are you doing next Friday? And I'm like, nothing. Let's jam. This is going to be amazing. He goes, okay, cool. So I leave, and then I get a call from his management people. They're like, he's going to call you, and you're going to talk about what you're going to do. And for fucking 7 days, I was just like, so finally, on Friday...
Dave, I know the feeling.
Sorry. Yeah, I know, it's tough. Musicians, they're assholes. So finally Friday, I'm like, what? I don't even know what fucking instrument I'm gonna play. I'm gonna play the drums, or play guitar, we do Darling Nikki, what are we gonna do? So they're like, just go down there. Just go down there. like, okay. So I go down there for sound check, and they're like, he's not sound checking. So it's just like cold, jumping into a cold lake. Just gonna go up and fucking jam with Prince in front of everybody for the first time. So I go out to check on my guitar or drums or whatever the fuck was there. I walk out, and his band is on stage, and they're rehearsing, but he's not. And then all of a sudden, just like in that fucking skit in SNL, he like sort of like appears. I am not kidding. And he looks at me and he goes, he's like, hey, man. I'm like, hey, Prince, what's up? How's it going? And he goes, you want to jam? I'm like, fuck, okay. He goes, you want to play some drums? I go, sure. So I get up there and he picks up a bass and he starts destroying this bass. He's just a fucking genius. And he's ripping the bass and I'm playing the drums and we've got like this cool funk jam. And I'm like, and we're in the forum and there's nobody there. It's fucking empty except for the people on stage. So, and then he starts playing a Whole Lot of Love. And I'm like, oh, rad. So we bust into a Whole Lot of Love and we do this like 8-minute thing. He's got his backup singers like, whole lot of love. What a whole lot. It was unbelievable. And he kept saying like, man, you've got a heavy foot. Your foot's so heavy. I'm like, yeah. So then we finish jamming and he goes, cool. What you doing next week? And I'm like, nothing. I don't think. So then I went and sat in my seat. I'm like, what do I do right now? Like, am I allowed to go home or do I stay? I wasn't sure. So we stayed for a couple hours and I was like, babe, I'm fucking tired. Let's go. So, and then the next weekend, I had to play the school fundraiser for my daughter's elementary school. So I never saw Prince again. But I swear to God it happened. The fact that it's like having that girlfriend in Canada. I'm like, no, I jammed with them. There was nobody there, but I swear to God, I actually jammed with Prince. Yeah. Whatever happened to Siobhan? I think Siobhan works at like a pottery barn now. I know, I mean, that's such a drag. It's the problem with the music industry is that, you know, it's just changing. And if it weren't for Siobhan, I swear to God, like she held that place together with duct tape for 20 years. And it's one of the great things about the film that I think a lot of people appreciate, hopefully, is that, you know, if it weren't for Siobhan, you wouldn't have had that first Rage Against the Machine record, you know? If it weren't, for real. And it's one of the things that people don't really take into consideration. It was one of the reasons why I wanted to start this project, because I thought, you know, people don't take, like, who gives a shit about a fucking board? Like, it's a recording console. It's like metal and wires, and like, who cares about that? Nobody cares about that. But if it weren't for that fucking board, these albums would not be the albums that they are. Like, you wouldn't, had Nirvana gone to some other studio in town that had state-of-the-art shit and had a, you know, perfectly acoustically designed room, it wouldn't have sounded like Nevermind. And had it not sounded like Nevermind, maybe you never would have heard it, and I wouldn't be here right now. So it's those elements that I think are just as instrumental as any instrument running through them. You know, that room and that board, if it weren't for those two things, those records wouldn't have sounded the way they did. And if it weren't for the people like Paula and Siobhan and Nick Raskulinecz, and if it weren't for those people, that studio probably wouldn't have survived, you know. So they're very special people. Yeah. They're awesome. Yeah. Okay, I'm going to go. All right, she's jumping. Don't hurt yourself. Hi.
I had to drink a lot of wine to stand up, first of all. You're laughing at me, dude. Okay. So, thank you. I have like a 45-minute drive. I drop my husband off at the airport, wherever I'm at, and I have this drive home. And I listen to your music, and it either makes me cry, I get absolutely lost in it, I cry, or my hair is all freaking all over the place. I can barely see the road. I'm trying to get control of myself. Nobody gets me. You make me feel like you get me.
Thank you.
What is that?
Wait, you got to put your mic. What's the last thing that you said?
I got emo. I pulled it away. What is that? To me, it's like this magic. It's this emotional switch that you turn on. I know another musicians have this and get it, but yeah.
Well, you know, I'll tell you something. I was reading something somewhere recently where there was an article about meeting your heroes or your favorite musicians, and the article was great. It was brilliant because it basically said you shouldn't feel the need to meet them because you already have in their music. So when you connect with a lyric or when you connect with a song, you're really connecting to the person that's written it. So the lyrics that I've written, I mean, it's really weird for me sometimes to think like, a lot of these lyrics I've written about things that are deeply personal. I wrote on a napkin, in a hotel room or something like that. And then I sing it in a song, and I see other people connect to it for their own reasons. I mean, it's one of the great things about going out and playing a gig and 60,000 people sing along to one of your songs because they're singing along for 60,000 different reasons. And it's a powerful thing. So, and I mean, I think that's the greatest compliment because that's the idea as a songwriter, I think, is to write something that people can recognize or connect with because that's where the depth of music really comes from, people connecting with each other. So thank you for that.
I know I speak for a lot of people when I say thank you
for
that.
We got time for 2 more questions, so.
Okay. Oh, it's lottery. Okay, I'm coming over here for 1 second. Yes, you, waving lady.
Hi, thank you.
Get up on that mic.
Sorry. The first song I ever learned how to play was "Smells Like Teen Spirit."
It's pretty easy, huh?
It is. It wasn't at first though.
It wasn't Voodoo Child because that was mine. Anyway, sorry.
It was the first song though that ever made my fingers bleed, and I wanted to know what was the first song that affected you like that, and who put the guitar in your hands?
We had a crappy old guitar in the house that I think my mom gave to my father. My father was a classically trained flautist. So, but he didn't run around the house playing the fucking flute all the time. Fortunately, things might have turned out a lot different. But that's pretty funny, wasn't it? That's a good one. We had this guitar in the corner, and, 99% of all guitar players picked up a guitar and played Smoke on the Water. I swear to God. God bless Ritchie Blackmore, because not only is it the easiest fucking thing in the world to play, but it's like an iconic riff. And so, but that was basically it, And it was the same, once it became like a real obsession. Like, I honestly believe that, I want my kids to play music, but I'm not going to ask them to do it because the last thing in the world they want to do is what I fucking want them to do, So, but if you have these things sort of around and they gravitate towards them, that's usually where, if you have a natural inclination or you're so puzzled by the flute that you just have to play it, that you eventually, master the instrument. Not master it, but, you try to get into it. And as a kid, it's like puzzles, Fuck a Rubik's Cube, what does that do? You sit there in your room all day long with a colored square thing. Screw it. How about the guitar? I want to figure that out. Oh, shit, I got it. Okay, I'm going to figure this out. Oh, shit, I got it. And that was basically it.
My sister's going to kill me unless I get her cell phone signed.
Her cell phone signed?
I'm
Okay, let me
serious.
answer one more
That's
question,
it.
then I'll
Thank
sign
you.
your
All right,
sister's
so-
cell phone. That's always the hardest part.
A lot of pressure.
It's always the hardest part. There's people yelling and screaming. You've been so patiently sitting there, so quietly. You've actually seemed interested. Thank you for that. It's
Thank you,
important
Dave.
at the front row.
Thanks,
That
Dave.
lady was yawning the whole time. I saw her right there.
I'll try to suppress that.
Thanks.
So just to kind of bring it back around, and thank you for being here, Dave. It means a lot to all of us.
You're welcome.
A lot of what you're
Whew, I'm
artistically
exhausted.
trying to do with this film and just, content-wise presenting to us is kind of the old school, the analog, and what was going on with music in the 80s, well, 60s, 70s, 80s, 90s, and what a lot of us grew up on. But here we are, it's 2013, and we have Pro Tools, Logic, Reason, everything, all these tools at our fingertips. So my final question to you is, what do you say to the kid who's growing up, or it could be the adult who's growing up, it could be the 30-year-old James Mercer, it could be the 15-year-old prodigy vocal wizard who, may have $1,000, may have $10,000, but definitely doesn't have, like, say, the $100,000 budgets of the 90s where record deals were being handed out. So what do you say to the person who's coming up, or to the parent who has 5 or 10 grand to spend on a record for their kid? How do they make this happen for them?
Well, now that's a good question. Now, money doesn't really matter as much as it used to. Like I said, if the tools are a lot more accessible than they used to be. Almost everybody has access to some sort of recording device, whether it's on your computer or. But I mean, to me, the most important thing is that the music is good. Like, it doesn't matter. Still to this day, you could have the biggest promotional budget and huge corporate machine behind you, but ultimately, if the music's not great, I mean, there's a lot of shitty music that a lot of people buy. Who am I to say? But I mean, the most important thing, the reason why musicians keep making music is, I don't know, that's another conversation. But I honestly believe that the most important thing is the music and the song. And shit, man, I mean, if I were a 14-year-old kid now, I know that someone in high school is going to have like a Pro Tools or Logic system. If the high school doesn't already have it, then it's so much more accessible now that you just need to figure it out, I mean, it's one of the fun things about life, I guess, is just figuring it out, because whether it's being a musician or being a parent or, I mean, dude, I don't know how to fucking direct movies, and nobody taught me how to do a panel discussion Q&A thing, but it's like, you just figure it out, and you know what? If you suck at it, stop. Like, don't waste everyone's time. Find someone or something that you're really good at, but I think at the end of the day, like, it must be, I think it would be really fun to be a kid now. I mean, I love being 44 and who I am now, but I sometimes try to imagine, like, God, it would be so cool to be 14 years old now with all of this rad new shit, man. It'd be so great. A lot of, I look forward to music, and I think that music has a great future. I think that technology is going to play a huge role in making music better. But we need to figure it out, Like, we need to figure out how to make it sound better. We need to figure out how to inspire people, That's the key, is doing something to inspire other people to want to do it too. That's the whole intention of this film, is really to show people, like, look how easy it is. You be your own judge, be as good as you can be, and then do that with other people, and it feels great, man. And so next time you bump into somebody that has a position at a record company or at iTunes or whatever it is, you have to ask them, like, what are you doing? Like, how are you inspiring somebody? What are you doing to make things better? Or what are you doing to make the kid want to fucking pick up an instrument? Don't try to sell them something. Just fucking try to, like, inspire them to do it, Like, That's what it's going to take to make things better. And, you know, kids are kids, man. You know, kids are kids. If fucking, you know, the next 3-piece band that sounds like a garage nightmare that comes out and smashes all their shit on stage and has fucking a good song or two, they're going to inspire another generation of musicians. And it's just going to happen over and over and over again. So, okay.
All right, so we gotta let Dave get going. But listen, if you guys want to bring a few things up to the front of the stage, I think Dave will sign stuff.
Yeah, I got a couple minutes.
All right, so thanks for being here tonight. And remember, tomorrow night, 20 feet from Stardom, BottleRock all week.
How are you?